Welcome to Cooper Talk. I'm your host, Steve Cooper, and remember, I'm only as hip as my guests. And I got to tell you something, people. This morning, I woke up in the middle of the night last night. I have to take my written driver's test, and I'm going to admit it, I failed it last time I took it. I've been driving for years. I'm 52. I've been driving since I was 17.
The leader in talk radio on the internet, right here on K98Talk.com.
Is debt beating you down? You need discipline. You need the Debt Ninja. If you've been caught in a financial trap and need to be set free, then you need the Debt Ninja. Want to stop those harassing collection calls, start saving thousands in interest and fees, and get out of debt fast? Then you need to call the Debt Ninja. The Debt Ninja will find the best companies across the country that will help you consolidate all your bills into one easy payment, reduce your payments by 30 to 50%, and get you out of debt fast. If you have unsecured debt of $10,000 or more, such as credit cards, loans, or medical bills, call the Debt Ninja for a free 15-minute consultation.
Call 800-826-1246. 800-826-1246. That's 800-826-1246. Call today.
The Debt Ninja.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it. There to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
Alright folks, this is Rick Robinson with you. I want to tell you about some friends of mine from a company called Security Enforcement Specialists. When I ran my security agency for 12 years, I worked with one of these partners on a daily basis. He's been involved in this agency now, and with his other partner, they do have over 30 years of experience in the private security industry. If you own a business and you need someone to keep you or your customers or residents safe, then I highly recommend contacting Security Enforcement Specialists today. Give them a call at 405-703-1796. Again, that's 405-703-1796. Again, tell them Rick from K98 Talk sent you. Like I said, if you need the help, they are here for you. So make sure that you go look them up, check them out, and see what they can do.
Wrong way. Welcome to the place.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-610-9050. That's 800-610-9050. 800-610-9050.
The Internet will never be the same. You're listening to K98Talk.com.
Wow. Good God, y'all. What is it good for? Absolutely.
Did fail my driver's test back in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, my first time, but I failed the written test, and I felt like such an idiot. And like being awful, I never went back. I've been driving with an expired license for like a year. So I'm going back, and I couldn't sleep last night because I was thinking about the damn test. And then what happens? I finally fall asleep, and this morning Joanne comes running upstairs. She's about to go to the gym. I used her car last night. The battery died. So it was a crazy day to start. But my day is going to get better because I can say my guest today, she's right now, I'm going to tell you this. She's America's sweetheart. She's on AGT. Everybody loves my guest, Julia Scotti. How you doing, Julia?
Hey, Steve, how are you? Everybody? How do you know this?
Believe me, I'm on social media. You met someone from my college. I think you were playing in Harrisburg or somewhere, a girl named Maureen Canning. And she sent
Yes.
I went to college with her, and I saw her. I mean, I don't do stand-up much anymore, but I was back in New Jersey a few years ago, and a bunch of them came to the show, and she said, "Do you know Julia Scotti?" And I said, "Yes." And I knew you before. I'd worked with you. And now, I know you through Facebook. But everyone's sitting there going, I mean, seriously, when I posted you were coming on the show, because I post who's going to be on the show today, and people were going, oh my God, she's killing it on AGT. So I'm telling you, I'm telling you, you're going to go far. Now, you're coming out August 2nd, right?
I'm coming out on August, I think it's August the 11th or 12th. That's when I come out. Unless you count the first appearance on AGT when it really came out. But, yeah, we're coming out in August.
Now, where are you guys performing?
For the show?
Yeah.
It's going to be at the, it's not the Omni Theater, but where do they do the Oscars? It's the
Shrine? Well, no.
It's Dolby Theater, Dolby Theater.
It's a beautiful place. Well, they must be excited about that.
It's, we were just talking, my manager and I were just talking this morning, but it's been unreal. It's 30 years I've been knocking around, and all of a sudden, one night, your whole life changes.
Now, when did you decide you wanted to do comedy? As a kid, did you always watch comedy? Because everyone has different influences. Or was it later in life? I mean, what made you decide that you wanted to get in this business? And did TV catch you as a kid? Did you watch the Ed Sullivan Show? Did you watch The Tonight Show? What brought you on this path to do stand-up?
I have always, I think, I got the calling very early in life. And I'll tell you, it was Lou Costello, believe it or not. 2 reasons. He was from New Jersey, and so was Bud Abbott. But there was something about that sad little character, he was fat, he was always getting picked on, blah, blah, blah. And I kind of identified with that as a kid. And so I just learned to start doing routines. I could do an impression of him. And you get that laugh, and you know this. The minute somebody starts laughing at stuff you're doing, it's like heroin. Yeah, I'll do more,
It is funny you say that, because it's like, I mean, even you going back to a kid, I think anyone, and I'm not saying everyone, but 80% of people who have done stand-up comedy for a while, I bet at one time when they were a kid, and I may be wrong, but they did a John Wayne impression.
Oh God, yeah. John Wayne, you did Three Stooges impressions too. I mean, because here in New York, they always every afternoon they'd run the Three Stooges films on Officer Joel Bolton on channel WPIX. Yeah. You're influenced early by that stuff. Let me hear your John Wayne.
Oh, you little doggy. It's awful, but that's how I did it when I was 5. I still have the same voice.
It sounds like Eeyore doing a John Wayne impression. Yeah.
No, you do yours. I want to hear yours.
Oh God, I got to lower my voice. All right. Listen and listen tight.
That sounds like no. Okay, forget the John Waynes. None of us are impressionists.
No.
So you want to do stand up. And you sit now. When do you sit there and decide you're going to do it? And do you hit it up a mic, or where did you go to perform? Because are you from North Jersey originally?
Yep.
So you're close to Manhattan, but was there a comedy scene really going in New York at the time?
Not so much. 1980. There was. I had always dreamt it because I was a drummer before I was a comic, and I had always dreamt of being in this stand-up. I didn't even know how to get into it. And I saw an ad in the paper for an open mic night plus show at a Chinese restaurant in Paramus, New Jersey, called the Jade Fountain. And I went down there and took a number. I put like 3 minutes together. It was a pro show too. It was like a pro-am show. And I went up, did my 3 minutes. I went up on stage dressed as Moses.
What the hell was that? I mean, what conceives someone to do as a young comic to go on stage as Moses?
I was doing a parody of Just for Men hair color called 10 Commandments hair coloring for men. Okay. So I was like the Charlton Heston wig, with the sort of salt and pepper hair. Right. And I walked from the back of the room holding my 10 Commandments. It was so incredibly stupid, but I got enough laughs that I came back. That was the beginning of the end for me. And then by the fall of 1980, I went and auditioned at the Improv on 44th and 9th. Did my sitting outside all day waiting for a number, to come back that night and do 3 minutes, and that's all she wrote. I was in. Here I am, 36 years later.
Now, did you ever think, seriously, that you've been working forever, and I worked with you, I believe, at Mitchell's.
Oh my God, yeah.
And I think, and at the time you went as Rich Gagliardi. And you've had many name changes. You were like the Nick Carmen Cosentino of North Jersey.
No, I had 2 name changes.
You were Rick Gagliardi, you were Rich Gagliardi, you were Rich Scotty, and you were Rick Scotty.
Well, I actually went from Rich Gagliardi to Rick Scotty. There was no Rich Scotty. No, that was too hard to say. So I only had 2. Nicky had I don't know how many.
Nick Carmen Cosentino, Nick Carmen Conciso Mellencamp. He had all of them.
I still tell you, we're like best friends. I talk to him all the time.
He's on Facebook. He's been in Italy now. I think he ended up going into the construction business, I think.
He did. When he left comedy, he moved back to his hometown, Chicago. He has a construction business. He's very successful out there. And he goes to Italy I think twice a year.
Now, when you were doing stand-up back in the day, did you go on the road a lot? Were you a road act at all, or were you strictly staying in New York? Or what was your game plan when you're doing comedy? Did you want to get a TV show? Did you want to just do comedy? Or what, because so many comics do it for different reasons. And a lot of the guys who started a little before me were just true stand-ups. They didn't really, of course they wanted a TV show, but they just did it. Did you just love performing stand-up?
Initially, there wasn't anything besides stand-up, and I loved it, and I still do. As I got more successful, I was traveling I was on the road a lot, so I didn't get to work in New York too much, as much as I should have. And at that time, everybody was getting a series or an HBO special, and there was that whole migration of Seinfeld and all those guys out to the West Coast. I missed that. So, I would have loved to have gotten a series at that point. I think, though, the universe is strange because if I had gotten it, I probably wouldn't have been able to, go through this change. So, if I had to say, I'm happier that it's happening now than then.
Isn't it weird like that? We think about stuff that, in all honesty, we sit there and we go, wow. We look back, and you're right. If it happened then, our lives would be completely different. I mean, that's what we forget about. If you got, like, if me or you got a certain break, I wouldn't be talking to people on the radio. You wouldn't be doing where you are, America's Sweetheart. It's just weird when you look back and you sit there and certain decisions you make really change your life.
Yeah, and it was easy, after 20 years of doing stand-up, it could have, I started to feel bitter, a little bit bitter, and a little bit angry. And I always said that if it ever got to where it was work, I would quit, which is exactly what I did, and when I came back, it was for the right reasons, I think. I wasn't planning fame, and I wasn't planning a series. I just loved doing stand-up, and I think that, now because it's more honest, I'm enjoying it way more than I did before.
When you quit, what did you do? Because basically, we're stand-ups, and the bottom line is, if you go for a regular job, I have a degree in business management, but if you have holes in your resume...
I had gigantic holes.
Yeah, you're like a 20-year-old. What did you do, and what did you want to do? Because the bottom line is, it is like a drug, as you said. It's like heroin, and when you're doing it for all that time, even when it starts to become a job, and that's why I got out of it too. When it started to become a job, it's still one of the best damn jobs you can have. So, what did you decide to do when you stopped doing comedy?
Well, I did it intentionally. I went back to college because I had never gotten a degree. And I became a teacher because I felt like the skills I learned in comedy would serve me well in the classroom, as they do in any job, but particularly the classroom. I love working with kids. So I got a job as a 6th grade teacher, a language arts teacher, and I taught for 7 years. I loved it. And if it weren't for like the administration, because we don't play well with authority as comics. We just don't get along well.
I know. I'm the same way. It's like, I get so pissed off the other day. I'm trying to explain, we're having internet problem, Wi-Fi problems. And I'm talking to this guy, and I'm going, yeah, the internet. And he's getting all technical. And I'm like almost screaming at him. And Joanne goes to me, she's like, no, honey, it's the Wi-Fi. And I said, you know what? You get on the phone. Because I'm the same way. When we sit there and we don't agree with something, or we don't understand something, we start getting pissed off.
And we can't stop. We can't stop ourselves. We just, our mouths just open and the stuff comes out, and that's the end of that. And so I left. After 7 years. I left mid-year because I was so fed up with these people. And I became a stockbroker for 4 years. And then in 2011... you remember Chris Rich, right?
Yeah, of course, Chris Rich.
Chris and I were having lunch. Yeah, a wonderful comedian. We were having lunch, and she said to me, well, when are you going to come back to stand-up? And me, I'm like, I'm never going to come back. I'm too old, And so she happened to be working at the Comedy Works at Georgine's in Bristol. I mean, remember that?
I played that when I was coming back east a lot. I played that 3 years ago. I played that.
Oh, okay. So you're there when Mike Kaplan was
there. Because I sent him a message, and I'm like, hey, I don't really do stand-up much more, but, I'm back east all the time because my girlfriend lives there. And I said, can I do a set? And I go there, and I go on the Friday night, and I hadn't been on stage, and the most I did was like 7 minutes, and I had to do 30. And, man, I ate it. The crowd was awful, and I could see him. I think he gave me the light at like 20. And then Saturday was great, but, yeah, the crowd was awful. So you went there, and you went inside to go on stage.
Well, he knew me, and Chris happened to be working there that week, and so, and I said, he goes, and I don't know if you remember how he talks to me. Hey, you want to come back? You're still funny. That kind of a voice, and so he put me up, and I did 5 minutes, and for me, the biggest thing about that night was that for the first time I was able to say publicly that I was transgendered, and when I said it, I got crickets because, and I had to repeat myself, and it dawned on me that they weren't believing me. And
it's Bristol.
And it's Bristol. There is that too. Yeah.
If it was Cherry Hill or Marlton, they'd be like, all right. But at Bristol, they're going, what the hell does that mean?
Well, so I did okay. I didn't kill. But the next week I came back and I had a really good set. And as I'm walking up the stage, Kaplan's walking by me, to get drinks or something. He just goes, can we swear on this thing?
Yeah, you can say whatever you want.
So as he's walking by me, I'm coming up the stage. The audience is laughing and cheering. He goes, is that so fucking hard to do? And that was the beginning of it. And so from that point on, I just said, well, maybe I can come back, you know?
Now, when did the transgender, when did you start that process? And was it something you always wanted to do, or did you find out later? Because, you know, this is no lie, I was in a movie about 12 years ago called Killer Drag Queens on Dope. And I played a thug, but Alexis Arquette, who is transgendered, was in it. And at the time, she was trying to raise money to get the operation and everything like that. And she had always felt she was a female. Now, when did it start with you? And plus, you did comedy when comedy was a man's world. I mean, we're talking, you know, you look back, you said, I mean, I give credit to Chris Rich and Tracy Skeen and, you know, all those people, because, I mean, I used to go to the Comedy Works and Comedy Factory outlet in Philadelphia, and of 25 comics on an open mic, we would maybe have 3 females, and it was a different time. It was a very ball-busting, misogynistic time. When did you know you were going to make this change, and then how hard was it? Because you were a trendsetter so much. You were before your time doing this, because it's just now, since Bruce Jenner, Caitlyn Jenner changed, it's become much more in the limelight. But when did everything start for this whole process? I'd always felt like something was not right about myself, but, you know, through the lack of information, I had no clue that it could be, you know, be gender dysphoria, which is what they call it. But in my, I went to when I was in college, in my last year there, I was just bottoming out, and I was seeing someone, a friend of mine, who happened to be a therapist, and we got to talking, and it was like an epiphany, man. It was like all of a sudden it just, wow, that's what it is. Because she had known, and she kept talking to me about it. And so we began to explore it in earnest. And so I went to a doctor, and I went to a psychologist, and I said, how does this happen to people like me? And they go, what makes you so special? I went, yeah, you're right, you know. So I began the whole journey in 1998, I believe, and I began the hormone regimen. But the first year of teaching, backtrack, before you can have the surgery, you have to live a year in your new gender. And so my first year of teaching happened to coincide with my living that year. So you can imagine what that was like. Yeah, because, I mean, it's something that first of all, you're going into a new job, I mean, after being a comic. And secondly, I mean, you know, this sounds not weird, but, you know, it's, you know, people think about this. Just, you know, when you dress like a guy, you dress like a guy. It's a whole new different thing. I mean, it must be different also just you must feel a little different in those clothes, and especially if you're in front of a class. It must have been awkward for you at first.
Oh my God, it was terrifically awkward, because I was learning. It's not only that, about 90% of the teachers in my school were female. So now I'm in the middle of the teachers' room during breaks and everything, and they're all talking about menopause and having kids, and I'm like, you know, and so I had to sort of fake that a little bit too. So it was a very stressful year of living, and again, you're right. Back in the late 90s, there wasn't any information out there. There was really no internet. You couldn't just look it up. So yeah, it was a difficult time.
So you sit there, and then you do a year, and now are you starting to feel more comfortable as Julia? And how'd you pick the name Julia?
That's actually, there's a story behind that. I had, when I was thinking about a name, my original choice, believe it or not, was Roxanne, because, don't laugh, because of Cyrano.
Okay.
You know, the story Cyrano. And that's, you know, I was going for that romantic side of me was sort of popping up. So I said to my niece, she goes, what did you decide? I go, Roxanne. She goes, you sound like a Lincoln Tunnel hooker. I was like, well, okay, well, there you go. That's not going to happen. So we kicked around a bunch of names, and Julia popped up. And I always enjoyed the Julia Sugarbaker character from Designing Women.
Okay.
And I liked her because she was a strong woman and sort of sassy and acerbic. And I said, yeah, that sounds like me. So that's how it happened.
And now, is your original last name Gagliardi or Scotty?
Gagliardi, but my mother's maiden name is Scotty.
Okay. So
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
That came, the Scotty name came because I used to work down south a lot. And you should see them try to say Gagliardi because there's a lot of vowels in that name. They couldn't get it out. So Scotty just seemed to be an easier way.
So as you were that first year as you're going through this, did other teachers know, or who knew, and who were you confident enough to share it with? Because it's a big thing, especially back then. And people just look now, you can't even share anything with people. I mean, who did you share your secret with, or were you not a secret, or were you open about it?
No, I was. Are you kidding? I was so far. I was so stealth. You had to be back then because they could fire you. Still, there were no laws to protect you for that. So even when people would question me, I would just sort of disavow. I tell the story about my first day of teaching. I finished the day, which is a stressful day to begin with for a new teacher. I'm sitting at my desk, just patting myself on the back, and I see this little note on my desk, and I opened it up, and it said, "Everybody thinks you're a man." It was one of my students that wrote it, and I was like, "Oh dear God," and I just bolted out of the school. I was crying. It was horribly, horribly hurtful, and. So I don't know who knew back then. I'm sure people speculated, the hormones hadn't shifted me enough or softened me enough that you would know, that you could still tell,
Now, when you take the hormones, do you feel it? I mean, can you feel it changing your body because it's something that it's a foreign substance going into you?
Yes, and I'll tell you a quick story. I was on my way. I had just been on the Moans for about a month or two, and we were driving. I was with my ex, and we were driving out to Long Island to I forget which club in Belmore. I forget the name of it, but we were working out there. I was working out there, and we put a song. I had cassette tape going to Bobby Darin, who I love, Bobby Darin, right? And as I'm driving, I turned to her and I said, "Isn't it a shame that he died so young?" And all of a sudden, I started crying. I started getting real teary, And I looked at her and I went, "What the hell is going on here?" And so at that moment, we both kind of realized what it was. It was the hormones that were just taking over. And yes, you do feel it. It's you start to, body fat starts to shift around, and it softens your features and things. Yeah, you absolutely feel it. Yeah. So
now you're sitting there, and you go to get the operation.
Right.
Now, are you excited? Are you scared? I mean, first of all, I'm sure they put you under, which anyone, when you get put under, I get scared. What was your feeling? Were you sitting there going, I'm finally going to be able to be me?
I never had a doubt about it, and I haven't had one since. It was the best thing I ever did for myself. But having said that, the night before, we were there were a bunch of us that were having it done, and you're sitting there going, and we're talking like we're talking now amongst ourselves. It's like there's no going back. So you better be certain that this is what you want to do. Yeah, but it wasn't doubt. It was scary. Yes, of course. So, it's like a super bris,
So you get the operation. And then now you decide, how long do you decide to get back into stand-up?
Oh, my God. It was, 2002 to 9 years. It was 9 years.
And now, had you kept in touch, besides with Chris Rich, had you kept in touch with your comic friends and told them about what you went through this operation?
No, I kind of, went underground. I didn't really stay in touch with too many people. I kind of wanted to, just sort of start a new life, basically. But I heard... once when I got back, that there were stories about how I had gone crazy.
Okay, tell me some of these, because
I know it was just nothing specific, but a couple of people just said, "We heard that you went nuts. You had a sex change." I go, "But having a sex change is not going nuts."
Right? I know. It's like, come on.
It's just But God knows what was going on, and I didn't really care. I just wanted to be happy.
Well, what's funny about your return to stand-up is, as I said, I had not been in Philadelphia. I had not been back for years. And, you forget. I mean, I worked with you once or twice, and you remember the names. And I kept coming back, and I did Marlton Comedy Cabaret, and I did Somewhere, and I did this. And I kept seeing a picture for Julia Scotti. And I'm going, okay, I'm saying to myself, okay, I'm not that out of touch. Who the hell is Julia Scotti? Why don't I know of her act? Why don't, and I was sitting there and I couldn't figure it out. And it's driving me up the wall. I'm going, did I just miss, did she come out of nowhere? I have no idea who this is. And it's finally, it was a Kaplan. I said, you were there the week after me. I was there with Vermont Harris.
Oh, yeah.
And I sat there, I said, hey, Mike, who is Julia Scotti? I keep seeing her picture everywhere. She's headlining everywhere. So she's not it's Philadelphia. And you don't become a headliner doing comedy after 3 years. I mean, Philadelphia, right. You sit there for a while. And then he said, it was, remember Rick Geigle? I said, oh my God. And it was just funny. I was like, finally. I'm like, okay, it makes sense. When she was a he was a headliner. So of course she'll be a headliner.
Well, it took a while. I mean, I had to go back. I basically started from scratch, doing open mics and auditioning for people, even for people I knew. That I knew before, I had to go back and do auditions for. So it wasn't, I think I advanced as quickly as I did because I had 20 years of experience, and I also had something of a reputation as a comic back then. But I think my skills, it took a while for my skills to come back.
Now, how did you change your act? I mean, for even me, I mean, if I get on stage every once in a while, I'll do storytelling. There's a lot of people who have changed their acts. Kathy Ladman has changed her act very much. A lot of people they change as they've grown older. Mm-hmm. When you're starting this new act, because you are, even that you're a different stage persona, because that's what we all are. You're living your life as a woman. How do you start writing material for that? And do you sit there and do you want to bring in the transgender to your act where you can make it funny?
I had to. Well, yeah, those were executive decisions that I had to make. I started off with two things. I wanted to be fearless, up there, and just totally honest. Those were the two criteria that I picked. I had no, an idea of material, but I said I also wanted to be able to work mainstream clubs because I felt like if I were just trans-specific, it would limit where I'd be able to work. I wanted to work mainstream clubs because, for the very reason that I wanted to at some point talk about being trans in the clubs. I wanted to bridge that gap, which is actually what happened with AGT. The material, if I did trans-specific material, people would just sort of get bored and turn it off. Unless you're trans, and it's, that it's interesting.
Right.
So I worked at being mainstream, and I just looked at my life. My life, other than this part of it, is just like everyone else. And I really am, pushing the idea that it's part of who I am, being trans, but it's not all of who I am. My life is very much like yours or anybody's.
Now, what's it like moving up from, because you were a headliner, mm-hmm. and I know my friend Joey Callahan said you had worked with him and you featured, mm-hmm. and he had to work his ass off because the bottom line is, like you said, once you've had the headliner's chops, once you can deal with a check going out, you can always do comedy. I mean, once you've dealt with a check drop, 30 minutes is just like sitting there taking a hot bath. It's like it's the easiest thing in the world. Mm-hmm. What was it like for you to sit there? Did you feel yourself progressing very fast? And were you going to be patient, or were you like, you know what? I've been as a headliner. I'm still the same sense of humor. What was your progression like that, and were you patient?
Yeah, I mean, I was learning, I still had skills from before, but I was learning new skills about being a female comic. You get treated differently, and I learned how to pull back a little of the Rick Scotti, mannerisms and things like that. I mean, that's my my muscle memory was telling me to do one thing, and sometimes it would work, sometimes it wouldn't. So I as I developed those skills, I got stronger and stronger and stronger, and I felt like organically there would come a point where, a booker is not going to want to feature me anymore because, he knows that whoever he puts in there is going to have trouble following me. So, you just sort of organically grow into the headliner spot, and to the point where they can't say no. And that's how it happened, really.
What was the first club that you headlined as Julia Scotti?
That's a good question. Boy, I never thought about that. It would probably be either the Comedy Works or one of the comedy cabarets. Most likely Doylestown, I think.
Now, what was it like to sit there and actually get to do 45 again? Because when you get, even though you've been doing it for a long time, as I said, when you go from doing 30, it's still a bit of a stretch. I mean, what was it like? Were you just sitting there going, you know what, I can perform all night? Or were you a little hesitant the first time you headline because you're thinking, okay, I got to do 45?
Well, you're always hesitant, especially if you're following somebody who's strong, strong feature. And I think, I want to say it was Pat O'Donnell that I followed at the Doylestown Cabaret. And Pat, is a strong, strong act.
Right.
It was somebody like him, somebody really high energy, et cetera, et cetera. And so you got to go up there and go, oh crap, you got to take it from that level where that last comic left it and really just push it to a whole nother level. So, and I felt like if I couldn't do that, then I didn't deserve to headline. So I really worked at, bringing my energy up and taking them from there and just lifting them even higher. So it's, and that's a muscle memory too from the old days. When you're headlining, that's what you got to do.
Now you said you've seen that female comics get treated different by club owners. Can you go into that, because is that still happens to this day? And and you've worked with a lot of these club owners and managers for a long time. You've known them, but do you see that's still out there? And what can we do to change that?
I think more and more female comics. Oh my God, I've seen some incredibly brilliant females out there. Just and I think in a lot of ways they're developing faster and better and stronger than the males are. I hate to say that because there's I don't hate to say it. I mean that's what I see, and so I think when I got back, even back then, they would be loath to put two women on the same show. I think that's changing. I know on my shows, if I get an opportunity to bring my, the feature in or the MC in, I will, usually want to bring a woman in. And there's some really, really funny women out there.
Who are some of your favorite women out there right now that you work with?
Yeah, Missy Grinkowitz. I just worked with her a couple of weeks ago, and she's great. I hate to just use one name, but there's you just go through the Philly roster. I don't know much about the New York roster. I don't know who's out there now, but I've come across a number of really funny people. There's a girl named in Philly named Rachel Fogoletto who is she's doing this just insane. It's not standard stand up. It's not but it's just funny as hell. There's Nikki Black out by you, Nikki Black, who was from Philadelphia. She's doing great things sketch-wise. She's just very, very funny. There's some really great comedy talent out there, and I'm really happy about it. The female comedy talent.
Well, what's amazing is, as you said, it's so many. I used to host a show a few years back called Cooper's Angels, where I have every other week at this comedy club, I'd have 7 or 8 female comics. And I never had to worry about repeating anyone, because there's so many now. It's amazing how much it's changed in 20-odd years, where now you can go and you can see thousands of comics.
Right, and the veterans, like, Patty Rossborough still, and like you said, Kathy Ladman, Mary Radzinski out in Philadelphia is doing it's just exploded. The scene is just, look at the hottest video, Dina Blizzard right now. Oh, no, that's the hottest video.
4 million hits or something, or crazy.
Yeah, it's wonderful to see, and I'm glad they're letting me be a part of that group.
So now you're doing your stand up, And what makes you decide to perform audition for AGT? And what was the process? Because I've heard, I would see posts on Facebook. People would be sitting there'd be a line, like, especially in LA. LA is crazy.
Oh, sure.
What made you sit there and say, I want to go to AGT? Was your manager involved with it? Did you think it could be a good break for you? Did you think you would get the popularity you've gotten? I mean, how did this whole process happen? And how do you feel now that, as I said, you are America's sweetheart and you are a role model for a lot of transgenders? And I mean, it must just be something that you, years ago when you were that first day as a teacher, you must have never thought that you would touch people like you did.
Not in a million years. I'll tell you how it happened. They actually found us. We had my manager, Kathy Caldwell, developed my website. She constantly works on it.
What's your website, real quick?
www.juliascotti.com, SEOTTI. Okay. That's juliascotti.com. Out of town, call collect. So she had been, we'd been putting little videos up, et cetera, and I guess one of the talent scouts named Joy Wingard found me, and she sent us a letter, would we like to audition, and yeah, so yes, I wasn't really looking for it. It sort of came to me, and we auditioned. The next thing you know, we're LA bound. So
how do you prepare for the audition? Because you're used to doing 45-minute sets, and how long do you do? Is it 3?
90 seconds.
Okay, now you always think about that as a comic, and it's not like you're a new comic. I mean, 90 seconds for a new comic is eternity. But for a comic who's headlined and you have the whole, you have your whole beats and rhythms down, and you're used to, I mean, I'm sure you've gotten applause breaks that last for 30 seconds, How do you sit there when you're going to do that first audition? What do you prepare for your material? And is it a long process? Do you talk to Kathy and do you guys decide, here's what we got to do? And just 90 seconds, are you in front of the mirror with a clock? Are you giving time less? How does a seasoned headliner do 90 seconds?
Well, fortunately for me, Kathy's also a comic, so that part of it was good. We went over my act, and we were able to see the things we could control and the things we couldn't control. And part of, as yourself, when you make an entrance, that's part of how you establish your character, depending on how you walk up there. I knew I wasn't going to have that time to really establish character, that I had to get right to the meat of it. And the audition, the first one is you stand in front of a producer. That's it. There's nobody else in the room. There's a camera and a producer.
No, where was that at, the first one?
That was at City College in Queens, New York. And, they set the camera up and you just launch into it. If you let the fact that you're not getting the huge laughs you normally expect or get, if you let that get to you, you're dead in the water. So you have to proceed with the thought that they've seen thousands of acts, and if they're not necessarily looking to laugh out loud, but they're looking for, the quality of the material. So I did that audition. Then they sent me down to another room and did 2 more auditions, and we heard, I guess, about a month or so later.
So you did it, you didn't know what was going on, and a month later they call you and they say, hey, you're going to California.
Yeah, pretty much that's how it went. I mean, it's just like, I went through the same process everybody else did.
And now when you get to California, what's the process once you get here? Is there more time? How's it change?
It does not too much. You're in and out of there in a couple of days. I mean, the first one went really well. Obviously. Second one went pretty well too, and now we're getting ready for the live shows in August.
Now, is it exciting? I mean, because I know you probably, back in the day, you probably did even improv and all that stuff. I mean, everyone, I think, in New York today. Uh-huh. Now, is it exciting to be back on TV? And is it just different because as a comic, you must look at the other acts, and there's some crazy shit. I mean, you even have like the Eagles long snapper, Dornbos is on the show. I mean, what's it like when you go? What's it like when you're in the back in the process looking at different acts? Because I don't know if you watched Dice Clay's show, but he was bitching about how he had to, work with a magician. He's like, yeah, there's different levels. The magician's underneath the ventriloquist and all this. What's it like when you're meeting all these different acts? I mean, are you sitting there going, holy crap, this is mind-shattering?
It is, because you're downstairs and it's, everybody's juggling and eating fire, and, they're dancing, they're singing. It looks like a 1940s movie, where they used to all be lined up outside the theater waiting to audition for Florence Ziegfeld and that kind of a thing. It was like that. And it can be a little intimidating, because I'm watching the guy shove a sword down his throat while it's on fire. I'm like, I can't do that. And you kind of have to put, in perspective. You just have no expectations. You're going to walk out there, do the things that got you to this point. Don't change anything, because obviously, you've been successful. So I just went out and did it. I'll tell you the one weird thing is that, when you're standing backstage the first time, you've seen that set on TV a gazillion times. And when you walk out there and you're suddenly in it, it's very surreal. It's like stepping through the TV, It's got this Rod Serling quality.
Bless you.
Excuse me. Yeah.
So you do that, and now, how do people react? As soon as you go on, I know because you were posting on Facebook because you didn't know when you were going to be on, and I'm sure you can't say, you don't, as I said, sometimes you may be on, you may not be on. What is it, because you're posting, try to watch me and this and that. What is the reaction to the people when they see you for the first time? Because, and was there anyone who, from the past, who went, holy crap, like you got a message or a text or a tweet from that you hadn't seen in years, like an old teacher? Did anyone from your past come out and go, oh my God, this is awesome?
Oh, a lot of people, my friends, relatives that I hadn't heard from in years popped up. My Twitter feed went berserk. The Facebook, there were literally 800-900 messages in my email. It was insane. I'd never seen anything like that.
Well, yeah, because it's something that, people, I was seeing it all over. People, different comics I know saying, hey, Julia Scotti, even people, as I said, I went to college with. Now what is it like to sit there to feel like that fame? Because, it's only going to get more if you keep advancing, which I think you will. What is that like to sit there, because, as I said, when you're a comic for years and you've gone through the change, so people, they know you, but they don't really know you. The comics who knew you or the people that saw you years ago as Rick Scotti, they don't know as Julia Scotti. What is it like for you now to get this, all of a sudden, this light shining on you? Is it awkward, or do you love it, and what are you going to do with it?
There are times when if I'm getting recognized, more so in the last week or so than after the first episode aired. By the time the second one aired, people are coming up to me and just go, were you on AGT? And I'm like, yeah. And that's kind of cool. It's very nice. What do I want to get out of this? I'm trying not to have any expectations. Whatever comes my way, we'll deal with it when that happens. What I'd like to do is, if I were really successful at this, is to work with kids again and get, there's an awful lot of, there's a very high suicide attempt rate in the trans community. It's like 41%, ridiculous. A lot of these kids, a lot of them are kids. So I really, want to be able to start some kind of a foundation or whatever to help these kids out and help them get through this. It's hard. So that's the only thing I'm sure about. As far as my, what happens career-wise, who knows? Whatever's out there, I will certainly take a shot at it.
Now, you had said you want to help with the transgender kids. In your act, in your 45-minute set, how much do you talk about your transgender? Do you talk about it? And when you do talk about it, do you inform people, or do you sit there and just talk about it because it's part of you, which it is part of you? It's no different you saying about transgender and me saying I'm bald and cross-eyed. There's no difference, but that's part of us. How do you address it on stage? And have you had strong reactions, and have you had negative reactions? Because I think now, and people are, if they don't understand something, they're more apt to be, dismissive. How has your reaction been, and when do you bring it into your act, and how do you mention it?
Well, prior to the AGT show, there were times when I would talk about it, and there were times when I wouldn't. Like I said, it's part of who I am. It's not all of who I am. So if I did it at all, it would be somewhere in the second half of my act. Now, because of AGT, it's sort of the 800-pound gorilla in the room. So, I kind of have to address that right up front. But in total, in terms of time in my act, if it's, I don't know, 7 minutes would be probably, the limit. It's not a big deal to me, I know it is to a lot of other people. It's just not a big deal.
Now, what's your writing process these days? Is it, because comics change, because you're older, and I think when we're younger, we sit there and we're so worried. We're so worried about getting that quick laugh. That's that thing. And as we get older and we're more mature on stage, it changes. Have you seen your writing process change over the years, just in the style and your delivery and just everything and your content?
Yes, my content specifically. I think the material I'm doing now has a lot more depth to it than the stuff I did before. I'm more story oriented. If you see my set, I don't have that. I don't have that laughs per second kind of monitor that TV shows have. They make they always judge you by how many laughs per second, which I always thought was stupid, but that's what they do. I'm not as concerned with laughs per second as I am with just bringing you along in the story to maybe a big punch down the road. So I think I'm more mature in my approach to my stand-up.
Yeah, because I think in the early days you were very high energy, weren't you? I'm trying to remember. I still am.
I'm still high energy.
You were like manic. I remember because I remember working with you at Mitchell's.
Real life too.
You had a really you had a nice. You used to wear a suit, I think.
I did. I went through a bunch of different phases.
I worked with you, and I still remember you had a dark suit, and you looked really sharp. And I was like, God damn it, because I had jeans and I had long hair, and I was like, but you were closing. So I still remember that because Mitchell's. Do you remember Mitchell's? How great that club was.
I have a video of me at Mitchell's. I do. There's a documentary being done on my life right now, and we used footage from Mitchell's. Probably the only surviving video.
Did Joe go up and tell the Superman joke?
You can't. No, Joe's not in it, but I'm sure somewhere Tommy Moore has footage of Mitchell's.
We talked. Okay, Grover Silcox was on a few weeks ago.
I heard that one. Yeah,
and Tommy Moore is the guy. He is the comic historian of the Philadelphia area. It's
He's
amazing.
Fantastic.
And as you think, though, I just think about what one of his rooms must be like, because he has articles from everything. He puts those headshots up, and I'm like, how the hell does he have all this stuff? Because back then, we didn't have, the internet to check it. It's just amazing.
He did you see the picture he put up of his office?
No.
Oh, it's wonderful. He's got everything in file cabinets. He really is a star. He's like the Smithsonian of comedy. Anytime you have a question about comedy, reach out to Tommy. Have you had him on yet?
No, I have to. The thing is,
you should.
Well, I used to see it's funny. He came up on the show, and Kate Flannery from The Office was on, and we talked, and she's from Philly, and she was telling a story, and we were talking about headshots, and I go, yeah, well, there was a guy in Philadelphia named Tommy Moore. He would wear a hat. It was that was the vaudevillian type, and she's like, the first time I performed, I sang background for him on this show somewhere, and then I told Tommy, I sent Tommy a message. Next thing you know, Tommy has the newspaper clipping. It doesn't say Kate Flannery. It says whatever the group they were. But I was like, that was in 1985, 88.
I always picture him when somebody gives him a request. It's again, the 1940s movie, the newspaper. Tommy boy, get over here. Get down to research and find this for me.
Yeah. Julia Scotti, stop. Julia, we have this clip for you. Stop.
Right. Get home immediately. Stop.
So now, how did the documentary come up? And that must be really exciting for you.
It is. It's. I was up in Nantucket about a year ago I was doing a theater up there, and after the show, I met this woman named Susan Sandler, who, as it turned out, is a professor at NYU Tisch Film School, and she also is a writer. She wrote the movie Crossing Delancey.
Okay, yeah, with Amy Irving and Peter Reed.
Right, exactly. So we got to, we went out for drinks after the show, and we got to talking. And about a week later, she calls me and she said, "Would you be interested in doing this doc?" And I was like, "Sure." Because at this point, AGT hadn't even, come up on the radar. And we just started collecting all this stuff. She liked my story. She liked my life, and she's been working on it now. I think she started working on it in, late last year or the beginning of this year. So we started, doing some shooting at this point, and she's culling all the information. She's a wonderful, wonderful woman. Really, I love her to death, Susan Sandler.
So what's it like to sit there and actually, think, it's going to be a documentary about you? I love documentaries, and it's a documentary I would watch. It must just be fascinating because it covers your whole life. And just to see the old clips of the comedy clubs and probably the guys that were around back then, that you hung out with. I mean, a lot of people, you're not the only person who got out of comedy. Lou DiMaggio was recently on my show.
I heard that, yeah.
He got out of comedy, and a lot of people did. I mean, it must be fascinating for you to see that so many of you got out of the business for whatever reasons, and now you're getting all back in. That must be a great feeling, and especially if they document something like that.
It is heartwarming, and I'll tell you something. I hope it's the beginning of a trend, because I think that the veterans, have got sort of been cast aside, and it's a shame because, we've got 30, 35 years doing stand-up, and then you tell us we're not, relevant anymore. I don't think that's the case. I think we have a lot to say. You just decided not to hire us anymore.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah. So what is the comedy scene like now? You said you had some theaters. I know you did some shows with Kevin Meaney.
Right. Kevin and I we're doing a show called Big Pants and Hot Flashes, and because he came out about 5-6 years ago, and we had worked together and it went so well that we just said, well, why don't we take the show on the road and go to theaters? And it's been a joy. I love Kevin. He's one of my favorite human beings on the planet.
My mom has always loved his act. Years ago, she would be like, "We're big pant people." My mom, who's Miss Conservative, I'm like, "What?" And I'm like, "Where did you even see Kevin Meaney?"
I was talking to my manager last night. I don't know how we got on the subject, but we both at the same time said, "Well, lose the goddamn house," And he's just that kind of a guy. He gets in your soul, and so there's that. And then I'm starting to book some theaters on my own. Now, just solo too.
Have you seen, when you do a show with Kevin, is the crowd, straight comedy people? Is it mixed? I mean, what kind of crowd is coming? Is it more of a gay crowd or a straight crowd, or is it just a regular comedy crowd?
It's a mix, but it's definitely more straight than gay or trans, but it's a mix. They do, they come for different reasons. I mean, just like your mom, people just love Kevin.
Right.
And, the people that know me come, and generally they know both of us, and that's why they come to the show. We did one out in San Francisco, out in Mill Valley. Oh my God, I love that theater, the Throckmorton Theater.
Oh yeah, I've heard it's wonderful.
Oh, it was just wonderful. It was just a great experience. And so, we it's a very high energy show from beginning to end, and we do a Q&A at the end. So people, seem to enjoy it a lot.
What kind of questions do you get asked when you do a Q&A?
One of the questions is usually that it's not even a question, but that Kevin and I make a great couple. And why don't we get together? And it's just because he's gay and I'm a woman. So
right.
that's one of the major reasons. We get that a lot.
That's the stupidest thing ever.
It is.
It doesn't make any sense.
Also, the suggestion is that we do a sitcom together, or that we do The Odd Couple on the road, take it as a play. I mean, we get a lot of that. People ask him about, the Tonight Show, and they ask me about, the surgery.
Right.
I get that a lot.
Have you had young people reach out to you since your AGT, or even when you were doing stand-up? Have you had people, or even parents, come up to you, which must be a great feeling if parents came up and said that their, one of their children is transgender or thinking about it? Have you been able to talk to people about that and make a difference? Because, as you said, eventually you want to, especially if it really takes off. But have you had people come up and actually just been and thanked you?
Yes, I've had, not so much in person, but I get a lot of emails from people in transition who are going through it. A lot of parents have reached out to me, sometimes to thank, to thank me for enlightening them. I had one woman, a mom, say that she hadn't spoken to her child in like 3 months, but she realized that she kind of had been handling it all wrong, and she reached out to her. And for anybody going through transition, you need that support network, and so I'm kind of glad about that. And I'm glad that it's a mainstream television show, and I think that I'm the first trans stand-up comic to ever do a primetime network show. I think I could be wrong. So there's a little responsibility with that. It's a daunting responsibility, yes.
And it's so funny, as I said, when you think about years ago when you were dressed like Moses on stage, that years later your life would change completely, and you are a role model. And I mean, that must just be such a surreal thing, because no one ever thinks like that first time you get on stage. I mean, let's be honest. We don't think we're gonna change things, but you're actually helping change things, and it's an awesome thing.
Yeah, I don't know if I think the best thing I can do is live my life as a quality human being, and I think if there is any change to come out of it, it's because of that. So I don't know how much I'm changing anything. I'm just trying to be a decent human being.
Now, do you have your material planned for the live show? Are you already working on it, or can you do the same material, or what do you have to do?
No, you can't repeat. No. In fact, the material I've done on the show already, I'm probably going to have to burn anyway, because unless I'm doing the best of. Right. No, it's all new stuff. We got the set prepared. In fact, I was here today working on it.
Are you out running it at places, or is it hard to just go out in the area and run places?
It's material that I've been doing in my act, so I know it's tried and true. But what the difference is, with the 90 seconds, you kind of have to have a solid opening line to sort of introduce the piece. So that's the thing that I've been working on, trying to find that opening line.
And do you have any gigs coming up soon?
I do, actually. Tomorrow night I'm going to be at the Bergen Performing Arts Center in Englewood, New Jersey for the Ladies of Laughter. This Friday and Saturday I'll be at Bananas Comedy Club, but this won't even be on the air by then, right? Bananas Comedy Club in Hasbrook Heights, New Jersey.
Is that Joey Novak? Does he still book that?
No, that's Harlan and Harlan Jameson owns that, and his wife. Yeah, so they've been there for 25 years. I think.
God, it's crazy.
It's been a long. But I mean, you can always find out where I am just by going to my website, which is
www.julia Scotty.com.
You're the best.
And what's your Twitter?
I beg your pardon. It's Julia Scotty 4.
Now, do you tweet a lot?
I've been tweeting more since AGT because it's just to be able to keep up with everybody and thank them and just make announcements about where I'm going to be or something. So yeah, I'm doing it a lot more.
How many followers do you have?
I went from, this is funny because the night of the show, the first show, I had 600 and change. I'm sitting there with my son watching the first show, and we're looking at my Twitter feed, and it looks like an odometer on a car. It went from 600 to it's up to over 5,000 now. It's insane.
Well, after your live show, you're going to go up to 15,000. You watch. By the time you're done, you're going to have like 70,000 followers.
What a responsibility. Exactly. Then I'm actually going to have to be clever on a regular basis.
It's all right. Anyway, Julie, I want to thank you for doing this interview. It was good to talk to you. It's been years.
Steve, I want to thank you. I really appreciate your, doing it. It was a lot of fun. I had a great time.
Good. Well, people, please go to JuliaScotti.com. Find out where she's going to be. Go check out the act. Go check out AGT. Go to my website at www.coopertalk.net. I have 530 odd episodes up there. You can email me, Cooper@coopertalk.net. I'll get back to you. Tell me what guests you want to see. I tweet a lot. I tweeted a lot last night about the convention. So that's at Cooper Talk. Go to at Cooper Talk. And Instagram at Cooper Talk 1. And don't forget my other website, stopthesalt.com. Remember I went through that health problem a few years ago. I wrote a cookbook. It's 120 recipes. Very easy to make. It's cooking for one. Basically, there's no pictures to intimidate you. There's no ingredients you won't need. Like, I don't have cumin. I use cumin, but I won't have cumin in the recipes. So go to stopthesalt.com. You can get it at Amazon or barnesandnoble.com. But if you get it at stopthesalt.com, I make more money, and that's all it's about, me making more money. So please, keep watching AGT. When they have the vote, you call in your vote. You go to JuliaScotti.com. You follow Julia on Twitter. You tell her to tweet more because she's getting a lot more Twitters followers, so she has to be funny. There's no more just saying where I am. She has to tweet jokes. Follow me on Twitter, at Cooper Talk. Words with Friends, Cooper Talk 1. Challenge me, I will play you. I'm Steve Cooper. I'm only as hip as my guests. Don't forget, drink your water, eat your vegetables, take your vitamins, and I will talk to you guys next week.